What's happening? This is the Blue Review. Let's check out what people have to say. We're going to get into the pen. We're going to get into Julio Urias. We're going to get into Cody Bellinger. But I want to read what you guys have to say. Whoop, hit that button. Hit that button. There it goes. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Blue Review. I am Greg Bergman at Bergman Greg on Instagram and Twitter, and with me is Cole Wright.
That would be myself.
You would know Cole Wright from Spectrum Sportsnet LA. Yep. He does a lot of the Dodgers pre and post games.
Absolutely. When John and Alana are off.
And when John and Alana are off, you see Cole Wright. If you also probably know him from the NFL Network, Cole Wright. So thank you very much for being here, Cole. Appreciate that.
Anytime, brother.
And so me and Cole have known each other for quite some time now, actually. We was like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Produced him at Fox Sports Radio with Bill Ryder.
That's right.
And we talked a lot of Dodger. We talked a lot of baseball. I saw this dude throw 90 miles an hour. Not kidding. Throw a ball 90 miles an hour. And we played golf, and he hit it was what, like 3-something? Dude just got power.
And then 3 putts.
And then and then
3 putts.
The power was
Every
there.
single time.
It was the
Every
short
single time.
game that was a little bit off. But I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for doing it.
Thanks for having me.
And really, it's just a good time to be talking Dodgers.
It
so
is.
we saw in the All-Star game yesterday that you had Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger, Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, and of course Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's been just the best pitcher in all of baseball.
So efficient.
Like, what is it about him that you're seeing that it just makes him so dominant right now?
It's just his efficiency and his ability to pitch back. If he's in a jam, he could run a count 3-0.
Yeah.
And you really don't worry about him, issuing that walk, because we know that free passes are not his thing. I mean, it's just his ability to kind of zone in and hit the black and be able to pitch to that specific hitter. And when you sit there and you watch it, firsthand, and when you're literally like 15 to 25 feet away, I mean, it makes it that much more impressive. Not just from Ryu or Kershaw or Walker Buehler standpoint, it's from the opposition too. When you're sitting right there and you're watching a Max Scherzer deal, from the first through the seventh, and this dude's throwing like 96 in the seventh inning. It's like that's still pretty impressive. It's more impressive to see what Ryu's done all season long, and just to see like the faith that Dave and everyone on the Dodger staff that they have in him. So it's pretty impressive this year.
Yeah, Ryu's just one of those guys. Like, he just hits he finds his spot in the diamond at all times, or in the box, right? So if he wants to throw his off-speed pitch into the bottom right-hand corner, he's going to hit it there every single time. The control is pinpoint, and that makes such a big deal, especially when he's a guy that is really he's only throwing 90 to 93. He's not putting a ton on there.
Yeah, but I feel like that off-speed stuff that he is able to locate, it makes that fastball just that much more explosive. I mean, when you're sitting there and you can throw first pitch, change piece, lower half and away, and then all of a sudden you can run one in on the hands on a guy and he has no clue what's coming next. I feel it's the element of surprise. And, people say, sometimes guys pitch backwards, which to me, I feel is one of the worst terms in baseball, because the actually pitching is what they're doing. And you're not pitching backwards. You're pitching to what you think the hitter is not thinking.
Right.
And that's what he does, man. He keeps guys off balance. You keep a guy on his front foot, he's never going to get a good swing unless he's a super accomplished hitter, and that's what we've seen. I mean, the ERA is there, the wins are there, the lack of walks. What does he have? Does he have 9 walks or 10 walks? And he has 10 wins.
It's right around there, though.
I think they said the last person to do that was Clayton Kershaw,
which is just
more wins
insanity.
than walks. So, come on. The guy's efficient.
He's crazy efficient. And what you're seeing mostly is, like, him, the pitching staff of this team is pretty insane. And just so we're all aware, I'm using the wrong Instagram, so I'm changing it live. I know.
Get it together.
I messed it up. I'm sorry, man.
Man.
You know what? I got a big star sitting next to me, so I feel like I have to be perfect.
Don't be rattled, man.
I'll do my best. But so this pitching staff is just unbelievable, and a lot of people are talking about how at this time of year, it's time to start looking. We're getting close to the trade deadline, right?
Yeah.
So what do you go after? And people say, we need more pitching. You need more starting pitching. I totally disagree with that. Like, I just see this pitching staff, and with Rich Hill coming back at some point in August, you already have Clayton Kershaw, you already have Walker Buehler, you have Ryu, Kenta Maeda does well at the pen, Julio Urias can go back and forth between the pen, and there's just too many guys already that are efficient enough, and you only need, 3, maybe 4 guys in the postseason?
And I feel if called into service in a capacity where he needs to be a starter, Julio Urias, he can be that guy. I feel like right now, like I was just listening to the broadcast. I was at the game, covering the game on Sunday, and one of the things I took away from Joe and Oral when they were broadcasting
They're
was
geniuses, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, Joe and Oral the best. And who would ever guess if you were just dropped into a situation and heard Joe Davis on the air, and someone told you he's 31, 32 years old, you'd be like,
crazy,
get out of here. Like he's clearly a seasoned professional. That sounds way past his years. But when I was listening to those guys, they said that the leash will be off of Julio Urias next season. Like it's the same kind of caution that they took last year with Walker Buehler. So, right. But I said, and I'm no aficionado. Like Dave Roberts is not looking to me for consultation. However, I think if need be, Julio could be that cat that could be called into serviceman, and I think he could raise a lot of eyebrows in a good way.
Right, which is what you kind of want. You want that flexibility, and that really what fits with this Dodger team anyway is the flexibility. Every guy at every position is flexible to move around to whatever needs to go. Yep. And Urias is another one of those guys. I was talking about it on Mason Ireland today with John Ireland, and he was saying, the Dodgers really need somebody out of the pen that's going to be a lefty, a situational lefty out of the pen. And I looked at him and I said, Julio Urias is that guy. You can get him in the 6th inning, the 7th inning, the 8th inning, and you can use them for all 3 of those innings if you really needed to, which I don't know if I really want to do that. But the fact of the matter is, he's a power lefty out of the pen that you can use pretty much any time in the playoffs. And Joe Kelly, as much as he was as much as he was terrible at the beginning of the year, right now Joe Kelly looks like the right guy.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Kelly over his last 12 games has like an ERA like .68.
Oh, I mean, it's unbelievable.
He's been getting after 20 strikeouts, and like I said, I think it's the last 12 games that he's pitched in, and he's just been nails. He goes in there and gets it done, which is good to see because when you have a guy who's out there and he's throwing gas, Dave Roberts told me just a few weeks back, these hitters these days, they can time a bullet.
Right.
And that's what they do. They sit back, and I think now it's that art of deception. I mean, if you can throw hard, but it's where's it going? Now he knows where it's going. And I feel like the results are finally starting to show.
Yeah, I think that's what the major thing is. That is the control that we were just talking about with Ryu. It's the same thing with Joe Kelly and really every pitcher. If you're under control,
see him sailing fastballs to the backstop, and when you're a power pitcher and you don't know where it's going, that's a problem. Yeah. And it's not just only are you worried about hitting the batter and issuing a free pass, you're also worried about I need to buckle down. And I can't be walking guys, and that's one thing where I think that really creeps into his mental. I think that's what we saw at the very beginning of the season. But a guy like that with that kind of explosive stuff, I think it's just take your time and everything will fall into place. Especially when you have so many other guys that are pitching well around him. It's kind of solid pitching through osmosis.
Yeah, it's one of those things where guys just kind of they feel it. They know whether or not when Clayton Kershaw throws 7 innings, 8 innings. The next guy that comes up, whether it's Walker Buehler or Ryu, wants to outdo that guy and pitch
friendly
better.
Competition.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
And that's why this team is 60-32, something like that.
So good.
It's just unbelievable. The first team in all of Major League Baseball to hit 60 wins. The best team in all of baseball.
First team to 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60.
Yeah, right.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. And I think there was I don't remember the exact stat, but there was a stat that was saying like the team that hits 50 first usually wins the World Series or has won 3 of the last 5 years or some crazy thing like that. I don't know. Baseball's all about stats, so I'm fine with that.
Those numbers jump off the page.
I think one of the big things that people are talking about right now, and this guy, Steven227LA, is asking it on the Periscope. He's saying, Brad Hand or Will Smith, if you had a chance to trade for one, would you do that? And Will Smith, just so we're clear, is he's the power pitcher lefty out of the pen for San Francisco, and he is been a fantastic closer for them. Mm-hmm. Brad Hand is also a really good closer for Cleveland right now. Yep. And both of those guys are, I believe, I'm not sure about Brad Hand, but I know Will Smith is on an expiring contract.
Okay.
So my thing is his, and I want to see what you think about it. As this Dodger team is right now, how they're currently constructed, how good their minor league system is, how good this team is offensively, defensively, pitching, the whole deal. I want guys that are going to be with this team moving forward. not guys. I'm not trying to just sell it all.
Rentals.
No rentals.
Yep.
That's how I feel about it because this team is going to be good for a long time. And a lot of people say you need to win the World Series this year. I agree.
Sure.
You do. But I don't think you need to sell the mortgage of future for it.
Yeah, I think you can win the World Series with the team that you have right now in the clubhouse. Maybe in one or two small additions.
Right.
But when everyone's jumping off a ledge to say, hey, we have to go get this, we have to go get that. I don't think that's necessarily what it's going to take. I think what it's going to take is for everybody that's in that clubhouse to be all in 100%. Not to say that everybody in there isn't already, but I think the results need to show. And I think that there comes a time, especially in the postseason, when if you don't buckle down, things are going to happen. They're going to go the wrong way. But I feel like this team has enough talent. They have the arms. They have the guys that get ground balls. That's what you need.
Right.
You need cats that are going to get ground balls. You need guys that not necessarily. You don't have to be a strikeout power pitcher. If you can get ground balls and shag a few flies, that's going to get them some solid results.
Right.
That's what we need.
And that's another whole issue in itself is the ground ball pitcher versus the fly ball pitcher. Ross Stripling is a guy that's a fly ball pitcher, and how this game is going, how baseball is moving. Fly ball pitchers right now, they're getting blasted.
Yeah. I mean, he only made 2 mistakes the other day, and it was
home runs. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
and
he pitched extremely well, and it happened to Kenta a little bit earlier in the week.
Yep.
2 mistakes, and they were 2 home runs. I mean, you get that fastball gets elevated, and they get a little air underneath it. There's a lot of wall scrapers that are going out this year, and I mean, it's tough. It's tough to see.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that are happening, you're hearing Justin Verlander talking about how the ball is juiced.
He was a little fired up.
I mean, a little bit. He was a little fired up. Rob Manfred saying that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed with the baseball whatsoever.
The pill's more centered.
Right. Oh yeah. You're telling me that teeny little pill in the middle, it somehow moved over the time of baseball. That now it moved that millimeter that's making the ball fly further.
No disrespect to Commissioner Manfred, but he's saying all of our scientists that we have on top of it. It's like, can you imagine like they're like a team of scientists walking around in like white lab coats, like
that ball
just inspecting balls, like saying just flipping them around and trying to like throw in bullpens in here. Like, why are you throwing a bullpen in a lab jacket? Either way,
right? But so maybe you believe in this though. One of the things that they're saying is that the seams are tighter. And because the seams are tighter on the ball, the pitcher is losing some of the grip, which you were a pitcher. So you understand, on a baseball, the seams are lifted a little bit, and that's kind of where you get your grip and your feel for whatever pitch you're going to throw. Mm-hmm. Now, they're saying that the seams are tighter, and that makes it so the ball slips off your hand a little bit easier, gets you a little bit more down the middle more often. Well, guys just don't have as much control.
I think tighter seams and raised seams can be confused. I think the seams can still be tighter, but they can still be raised. In major league balls, the seams are always pretty smooth around anyways. Like, I mean, if you go from, say for like a high school summer league ball to then a college ball to a minor league ball to then a pro ball, the seams they gradually get smaller and smaller and smaller. So if your stuff isn't there, like if you can't snap off a hammer with the curveball and with a major league ball, then chances are you're not going to make it there.
Right.
If you can't throw those pitches with that ball, I mean, I think it separates. I mean, it's the great equalizer. It's just like a wood bat. I mean, there's dudes that can flat out rake with a metal bat.
Right.
And you put a wood in their hands, and it humbles you real quick. It turns a lot of dudes into pitchers. I mean, I know firsthand.
Yeah, you bet. It's like, you seen it.
You can mash with a metal bat. It's like, oh man, I can't wait until I get a wood in my hand until you get that wood in your hand, and it's not the same thing.
Right.
Not the same thing at all.
No, not at all. So one of the biggest things that are happening right now, I think, and is really important to this Dodgers team just in general, is that coming back on Friday, despite the fact that they have 60 wins,
rematch.
Oh yeah, going to the Red Sox, going to Boston, but they're gonna have Corey Seager back.
Yeah.
They're gonna have David Freese back. They're gonna have AJ Pollock is supposed to be brought back, although somebody has to come off the 40-man roster in order for him to come back since he was on the 60-day DL. I'm not exactly sure who that's going to be.
I feel like some of the youngsters are going to be getting a ticket back.
Yeah,
Oak City.
Yep.
Maybe Kyle Garlick.
Yeah, he's gone.
Maybe Beatty.
Yep, he's gone.
Yeah, I feel like Edwin Rios. I feel like some of the bigger guys. The younger guys are going to be out of there, and it's just a fact of the matter. You have a rookie of the year, a guy that they just brought in, and a veteran that's established, all coming back that can be serious contributors to this ball club. And I think there's no shame in that. But I feel like as the season moves along, that's not to say all three of those guys who are going to Oklahoma City, if indeed that's where they're going to go, there's nothing to say that they can't get called right back up, because all of them have been productive in their short time up here.
It's all a train, right?
Yeah.
And that brings me to a really good point, by the way. I saw this. Somebody tweeted this yesterday, and today earlier, and let me get this up just to show the depth of what this team has become.
All right.
Let me get the exact tweet here.
You couldn't have gotten me a bigger hat, though?
Yeah, I know. So on the
if anyone saw that.
That's my boy David made that, and he said, you know what?
Kudos,
I don't have control over
kudos
that.
for going on a limb there. Like, he had me in like a 6 1/4.
All right, so Eric Steven tweeted out earlier today that while they were up, because they all were all optioned down to make room for Corey Seager, David Freese, and those types of guys, Matt Beatty, Kyle Garlick, Will Smith, and Edwin Rios combined to hit 263, 312, 452, and 199 plate appearances, which comes out to about almost just under an 800 OPS between those four guys. 7 home runs, 12 doubles, a triple, 28 RBIs, and 25 runs. That's from your AAA guys.
It's Edwin Rios with the triple.
Right.
I mean, the dude that's as big as all outside. He's a big man.
Right.
He's not a small dude at all.
Right, and that was in 19 at-bats. Will Smith had 29 at-bats, had 2 home runs. He was gunning dudes out at second base.
Come on now.
He has an arm. That's a guy. So, all right, so let's go with Will Smith for right now. One of the main.
I like him a lot, man.
You do?
I like him. I was there on his major league debut.
Yeah.
And it's just to sit there and watch him go out there and succeed, and to be able to sit down with him and pick his brain real quick, ahead of making the biggest game of his life essentially. And he's just a good kid.
Just talking to you.
Absolutely. And it's, to see him go out there and be productive, it kind of stinks when you see those guys get sent back down. But that's just how it is. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, we realize that it is a business, even though it's there for our entertainment and for us to sit there and break down and dissect. But Will Smith, I think his time is coming. I mean, like we were talking earlier before the show started, man, he's a first round draft pick, and when front offices make these moves in the first round when it comes to the draft, you envision them being a guy who's going to come up and produce just like Will Smith did. Like, hey, in 2 or 3 years, like hopefully this guy's going to come up and make an impact. And
right.
What did he do? First week, I mean, he was letting people know.
Huge impact.
Fresh Prince of Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Which has the best walk-up music that you could possibly have
solid.
for him. Yeah, it's pretty great with the Fresh Prince. Mm-hmm. But this is what you're kind of seeing. The fight for a long time was between who's better. Is it Keibert Ruiz, who's down in, I believe, AA still in Tulsa, and who's not playing very well right now, or is it Will Smith? And they were kind of going back and forth. Will Smith got brought up to AAA before last year, before Keibert, and Will Smith came up now. And you're seeing exactly what this dude can do offensively, defensively. You're seeing Austin Barnes start to struggle, or actually has been struggling. Russell Martin is, he's Russell Martin. He's not really expecting...
Aging veteran who's sure-handed behind the plate.
Exactly. And that's kind of what you need, is defense is important. But we will see Will Smith again, I would assume. At some point, Austin Barnes is not going to be hitting enough to stop Will Smith from coming up.
And that's the thing, though. I mean, you have to see how Will Smith still swings the bat in Oklahoma City, because in years past, his biggest hurdle was swinging that bat.
Right.
And we saw it before. And this year we saw an uptick in his production in Oklahoma City. I think before he came up, he was hitting
7 home runs in 7 days.
280, I think 8 home runs, and I think he had like 12 extra base hits. It's just... It's what you want to see out of a guy when it comes to a general progression, and especially at the catcher position, because any additional offense you get is just supplemental. But when your catcher's going up there and he's really not making an impact, not to say Austin Barnes isn't making an impact, you just like to see him make more of an impact. And I think Will Smith, if it's a competitive type situation, I feel like if those two guys were to go head to head, I feel like maybe the younger dude may win out. I don't know. It's also about the rapport that you have with the pitching staff. And Austin Barnes, he's there. He knows those guys. Then those guys are comfortable throwing to him. So that also plays a factor in it.
Yeah, one of the guys that came up before Will Smith was Rocky Gale, and I remember watching Rocky Gale and seeing that he just didn't seem to be on the same page as the pitchers. Yeah. And guys were stealing on them. The balls were getting away. People were throwing them in the dirt, and it just seemed like it was because of they didn't have a good rapport between pitcher and catcher.
Yeah.
The battery wasn't there, and I think you're seeing a better job of it between Will Smith and even Austin Barnes.
Sure.
Austin Barnes understands these guys, and I think he just does a lot of things that really help out.
No, it's crazy. The funniest part is that when people don't understand how big of a difference it makes if a pitcher is comfortable with their catcher or not. Because when I first really started pitching when I was a freshman in college, I had an awesome catcher. I mean, he
Yeah.
he threw out like legit like 75% of the dudes that tried to steal on him. He was first team all conference. He was sick, and I know it was just on a junior college type level,
Whatever.
But as I went along and pitched at other schools and played ball after college, the catchers were not as good. Like if I walked a dude, because I was a closer, I walked the first batter, I wasn't really worried about it because I knew that my catcher would throw that dude out if he tried to steal.
Right.
So if you have a catcher who's garbage down to second, or if he's not getting it done as far as the defense is concerned, it plays a part with your whole mental makeup as a pitcher on the mound. And I think having a guy like Austin Barnes there that is comfortable with the pitching staff, that's definitely playing a part. 'Cause like you said with Rocky Gale, didn't seem to be on the same page.
Right. All right. Let's get a couple of questions that we got in here from Periscope here. I got some kind of wonder. Who do we get? It's going to be somebody in the bullpen. And your guess, as you like to say before the show, your guess is as good as mine. Yeah. The guy that I like personally, I know a lot of you guys are really in love with Will Smith. I don't really like the idea of trading with San Francisco, and not because it's San Francisco and it's a rival.
They're open to it, though.
They are.
I mean, there's open dialogue between Andrew and Farhan.
Right.
I just saw, word on the street is that it has to be the right situation, the right fit. But it would make sense if it would help the Dodgers win.
Absolutely. But if Farhan has also said, yeah, I'm ready to trade with the Dodgers because I know that I'm going to be taking pieces away from them that are going to be helping later on. He's going to go into the minor league system that he helped build last year with Andrew Friedman, and he was able to find the guys. Like, no one had heard of Max Muncy until Farhan Zaidi found him. Yep. Chris Taylor, a lot of these, I know Chris Taylor was traded for, so was Max Muncy, but Farhan found these guys. So he knows this farm system just as well as Andrew Friedman does, so I'm okay with the idea of trading with San Francisco. But if you're giving up a lot for Will Smith, who you may not even sign again next year, I kind of am a little bit off on it. And I prefer a guy who's younger, under more team control, like Amir Garrett in Cincinnati. Who Cincinnati's in last place right now, but they're only like 4.5 games back out of the Central, which makes zero sense to me.
It's not great right now.
No,
it's not great.
The Central is tough. Because of that, I'd rather get a guy that's more under team control is going to be with the club for a longer period of time than just a rental for the end of the year. I want to win the World Series, so if it comes down to it, yes, I make that move. But if I have the option, I'm going with somebody that is a power lefty from somewhere else.
But you don't think that everyone that's in that bullpen right now can get the job done? I mean, is it your disbelief in what is currently on the roster, or is it your belief that just another piece to the puzzle would put them over the top?
Yeah, I think you get as many bullpen pieces as you can.
Okay.
I don't think you go out and get another position player because I don't think there's room for a position player on the roster. I just don't.
So many different guys can play so many different positions on this roster, too, which is a good thing.
Right. A bullpen, a pitching staff, though, especially a bullpen, is just a complete crapshoot from year to year, over and from the beginning of the year, the end of the year. I think they change. The team that you have, the bullpen you have at the beginning of the year is never the bullpen you have at the end of the year.
No.
So I'm always okay with trading prospects and other guys from to get to other teams to bring in like when we brought in Watson, right? When Tony Watson, you brought in Tony Watson, you brought in Tony Cingrani, and they were huge parts of what happened in getting to the World Series. Yeah. I think those are big time moves. So I think you make those moves, and whoever's pitching the best in September is going to be the bullpen that's going to be pitching in October. But I do think that guys that are on there are going to be important roles, like Urias' important role.
Yeah.
Kenta Maeda, Ross Stripling, Dylan Floro, who's been struggling a little bit, but
think about how he started the season. I mean,
just killer,
hammering down.
Absolutely. Kenley Jansen, I think, is going to be just fine. Joe Kelly seems like he's kind of starting to figure it out again.
Here's the thing, though. Everyone always says, like, oh, Kenley's going to be just fine. When you look at his numbers, Kenley is, if I'm not mistaken, he's in, like, the top 3 in Major League Baseball when it comes to pretty much all the closer numbers.
Right.
I know the home runs. He's given up a few, but
he does.
Guess what? When you challenge top flight hitters when the game is on the line, sometimes that's going to happen. I mean, it's not the playoffs; it's the regular season. I mean, there's going to be bumps along the way, but his numbers are as good as they get. I mean, what do you want? What else? Right. Are you looking for someone else? Because there's not too many dudes who are better in that situation than Kenley Jansen.
No, I believe in Kenley Jansen, and Absolutely. I think with this team when Kenley Jansen goes, this team goes, and I don't think there's another guy that can fill that role on this team.
And he's such a class act. So
yeah.
I mean, maybe that clouds my vision just a little bit because when you see these dudes on a daily basis and you know what they bring to the table when they're out there, you'll give them a little more leeway. Okay, he gave up a home run. It's That's one of 162. So
Right.
things like that happen. But I think Kenley Jansen is one of the best in the game.
Right. All right. So Blue Goon 82 says Ruiz is good behind the plate. What are you talking about? Not as good as Will Smith, but still solid. I don't remember actually saying anything about Ruiz behind the plate. I remember saying that Rocky Gale was having problems behind the plate.
Yeah, not
nothing
problems,
about.
but there seemed to be a little breakdown in
disconnect.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Which is nothing against him. It's
No.
not a market. It's just sometimes pitchers aren't comfortable with certain catchers, man. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Just there's a reason that AJ Ellis was essentially Clayton Kershaw's everyday catcher
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Henry Blanco.
Yep.
That's Greg Maddox's guy.
Right.
I mean, we've seen catchers, those valet catchers, move from one team to another because those top flight pitchers, they're so comfortable pitching to those certain catchers, and it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, you can call your shots. I mean, it's like an executive at a Fortune 500 company. If they want to bring their assistant with them, guess who's coming with them when they go from one Fortune 500 company to the next? Their assistant. That's who's coming with them. So
Yep,
that's essentially what you're
absolutely,
looking at.
and that's exactly it. So some kind of wonder says Diego Cartaya makes one of the other catchers expendable. Correct. Well, Diego Cartaya is in single A, I believe, right now, either in rookie or single. I believe he's in single A ball, but he is
quite a jump though.
Yeah, it's Venezuelan catcher, supposed to be extremely good, supposed to be the best of all of them. However, he's not supposed to be ready until 2021, 2022, somewhere around there. I think that's
a ways off.
Yeah, it's a long time away. So the other guys aren't expendable just yet, but you have enough catchers in this farm system that you don't really need that as much. Danny Boy 1911 says bring back Watson. Yeah, I mean he's up in San Francisco also. You're gonna have to make a move for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Danny Boy also says do they have that hat and fitted instead of snapback? Oh yeah. All right. So are you talking about his hat or my hat? If you're talking about my hat, and just let me get this real fast.
This is my daughter's softball league's hat. I don't think
anyone's
anyone's looking for this one. Yeah, and a fitted. They have them though. I mean, if you're really interested.
I don't have the Bleed Los thing on here. I don't know what happened to it. It's gone now. But anyway, this hat, what you see here is Los Angeles versus the world, and this is my Walker Bueller's Day On shirt, which you can also get at. I'm sorry if you saw my stomach there. It's my bad. It's not all that. It's like a keg now. It's not so much of a.
You gotta get those.
Yeah, I got to get back to this.
Abs,
Yeah,
man.
6 minute abs.
Yeah.
But this is from Bleed Los. This is Walker Bueller's Day On. You can get all this stuff on their Instagram, on their Twitter at Bleed Los, BLEEDLOS, Bleed Los. All this stuff. It's great stuff. I love this hat. This is one of my favorite hats. This is one. I got a ton of their shirts. They're extremely comfortable, and these are all.
I'm gonna have to hit up Bleed Los.
Dude, you would.
Maybe a care package.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
I
know you. I tell them I know you.
That's all you got to do. You say you were on the Blue Review.
Well, probably. That's a terrific name. Where'd you get?
Oh, I forgot.
Where'd you get the name of that at, Greg Bergman?
All right, you're absolutely right. At the beginning of the year, I was trying to figure out what a name for this should be, and Cole Wright said, "Call it the Blue Review. That's a killer name." And I was like, I really like that. And that's what this is. We are now on the Blue Review, and it's all thanks to Cole Wright. So thanks, man.
How about that?
Look at that. You made a huge contribution, and now, after weeks and weeks and weeks of asking, you finally made it on.
On the night of the ESPYs.
Yeah,
saying? I was like,
see, that's dedication.
We tried to plan it, and we're like, okay, I'm going to come down tonight. And I'm like, tonight's the ESPYs. But you know what? Actually, it was a breeze getting in here.
Yeah.
Like, getting out of here could be a whole different story.
Oh, man, I don't know. It's supposed to end right around 8 o'clock, and we're supposed to end right around 8 o'clock.
Well, everyone's going to be out there. We're going to get mobbed. Everyone's
I
going
know.
to be like, hey, look who it is. It's like, a valet. Here's go get my car. Like,
go get it. Bring me my car.
We have red jackets on.
All right, so one of the things that as El Carrizo1 is saying, speaking of softball, # put real FRG in the 2020 California. All right, so that's a guy, FRG, who is on he's on Dodgers Nation on Blue Heaven. He does so. Just he's been on the show before.
Can
he's
he swing
a good friend.
it or what?
I mean he's a big softball guy.
Okay.
So good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I tried to get into it just a little bit and it kind of went away, but Corey Seager coming back does a lot of things for this Dodgers team, where he's now going back to be your everyday shortstop. What's that going to do? Because him and AJ Pollock coming back, what does that do to your offense? What does that do, especially your defense? Like Kike Hernandez, Alex Verdugo, Jock Peterson. What are we seeing from those guys?
I feel like for Kike, he's going to be that guy that's going to be. I mean, he's going to be that hammer off the bench, and I feel like that's probably not what he wants to hear. But when you look at his numbers as a starter, as opposed to a player coming off the bench, I mean they're night and day. I mean, and that's. I guess that's good if you're the school of Lenny Harris, if you want to come in and be a great pinch hitter. Which,
Brett Butler.
Yeah, there's no shame in that at all. But I feel like right now, best suited for this team, Kike is best right now in that
super utility role.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And and I was hoping that he was going to turn the corner this year, and we haven't seen it, and it's tough because guess what? Hitting the baseball is the hardest thing to do in all professional sports. So it's no knock on Kike, but I feel like when he's in there when he has zero time to think about it, and he gets to go up there, go get a bat, go get warm, let's go.
Right.
He comes in and produces. I feel like over a long stretch, and Jerry Harrison Jr. and I were talking about this, and Jerry said he felt better when he got to start. And he said, I didn't get a whole bunch of them as opposed to pinch hit roles, but he said he was better when he had more time to sit there and break things down and know where he made his mistakes. Kike's better when he just gets in there, doesn't
Not
think
thinking
about it.
Yep.
Whop, let's get after it, and boom, next thing you know, he's on base.
It's so crazy how different people are. It's like that's how Kike is. Just get up there. Cody Bellinger, he needs to understand.
Sure.
Everybody. He talks about it. He has the hitting coach. He has the hitting strategist. He has the hitting whatever you want to call it. He has all those guys. Yeah, all three hitting gurus that the Dodgers have is all on top of him and telling him what he needs to do. And look what he's doing. He's producing at
so many good at bats.
Magical levels.
So many good at bats. That's the difference, though.
Right. And he with 2 strikes, I've never seen a guy besides Mike Trout shorten up their swing as much as he does.
And I mean, would you imagine that at this same point last year, you'd be saying that about Cody Bellinger, who had his numbers were there. I mean, 25 home runs. I mean, there's a lot of dudes in Major League Baseball who would love to have 25 home runs. But the thing about it is, when he had 2 strikes last year, it looked like he was trying, to hit the ball
home runs
all the way over the Estrella sign.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not going to happen this year. Can he hit a home run with 2 strikes? Absolutely. But if that ball's outer half, what is he doing? He's barreling it up, going the other way, and hitting one out to opposite field or to center. And that's just the progression you see in him as an MVP candidate.
Yep, just getting on base, driving guys in, doing what he needs to do to be consistently on base, and that's a huge part of his game and why he is in the MVP race. Just a couple of things here. Blue Goon 82 again says, "Do you guys think Jock at first will end up being okay? It's the only way to start AJ, Jock, and Verdugo," which he's right. But then you also have David Freese. You have Max Muncy. That means that Muncy would have to go to second, which takes out Chris Taylor. You have a lot of different options to go. It really just depends if you're going lefty-righty there.
Yeah, it is based on the pitching matchup and who's hot at the right time. And, when you talk about Kike being that super utility guy, I mean, David Freese is also that super utility guy. He's a guy who can come up and he can play
professional hitter.
He can play the corners, and I feel like he thrives when that frying pan is hot, man.
Yep.
He's just that kind of dude you want up to bat when the game is on the line. And we've seen it before with other teams. We've seen it in a World Series capacity, and we've seen him make plays for the Dodgers down the stretch last year.
Yep.
And I feel like him coming back, he's going to be a spark plug because not only does he produce on the field, I feel like he's just one of those good guys in the clubhouse. He's good to have when he's there. I feel like he keeps other guys, not to say he keeps other guys in line. But, I mean, if he has, a positive attitude and things are going the right way, I think people are going to follow in his footsteps just because they know that he's been there.
So it's kind of like the Chase Utley role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I feel like even more so, I mean, Chase was very businesslike. And I did a pre- and post-game show on Spectrum just a few weeks ago with Chase. It was his 7th
Seems
show.
like a great dude.
Awesome dude.
Yeah.
Awesome dude. But like I said, he's very businesslike.
Yeah.
Not to say that David Freese is not. But I just feel like he's a guy that goes up there and he'll crack a joke a little bit now and then, and I'm sure Chase cracked jokes as well. But he seems like a little
he's just
more
keeping you in
by
line.
the books.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And he David Freese likes to have fun, man, and he gets after it.
I think that's a huge deal to have that type of guy, and David Freese to have that guy that's won World Series before, especially with this team that has been together for 3 years now, going on 2 years in a row in the World Series, and it's a lot of the same guys. It's to have somebody that actually has won, and a couple of those guys that have actually won World Series before is very, very important. Steven27 LA says Muncy was making plays last night. I was stunned. Always thought he was a defensive liability. That's the craziest thing, right?
But Max Muncy's a baller, man.
He
all
is
the way around.
Like he's a big dude too.
I mean, when you look at him,
you don't say second base. You don't ever say second base.
I don't think you say any one position in particular at all. I don't think he's a prototype at any position. But I mean, he's faster than everyone thinks. He has way more pop than everyone thinks. But I think right now it's like, I mean, I think if you were to ask the average Dodger fan on the street, hey, how many home runs did Max Muncy hit last year?
I think he had 35.
35.
Yeah.
And I think most people would probably say he had in the 20s.
Yeah,
18.
Because
we know he rushed to 20 pretty quick last year. So I just feel like 35, man, that's a lot of bombs, and he's already over 20.
Yeah,
it's
22, I believe,
crazy.
right now. Yes, he's a guy that I totally thought, and I'm 100% wrong. I hate admitting it, but I am. I'm going to admit it. I was wrong. I thought Max Muncy was going to completely fall back. He was going to be just a guy that was going to hit around 18 to 20 home runs. He wasn't going to get anywhere near that 35 again. It just shows so much what this team does when they actually have, how the new hitting coach was named, Robert Van Scoyoc, and a couple of the other guys that they have there that I don't remember their names, but those guys, that's what is it?
Yeah, Brant Brown.
Yeah, Brant Brown. Yeah,
that's Cub Factor.
Yep, those guys have completely transformed the way that these guys take their at bats. I've never seen a team, especially in the first inning, it happens more often than not, where I see them getting to 25, 30 pitches when it gets to against that starting pitcher, and if you do that in the first inning.
Taking a little tread off that pitcher's tire
early.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Because you always want to get into the bullpen, right? You always want to get that soft, gooey center of the bullpen.
Without a doubt. And I think that, and I could be completely in left field on this one, but I just feel like, I feel like all the guys loved Turner Ward last year, but I feel like what it is now, it's just it's almost an infusion of youth. When you're a young dude and you have a younger guy that looks like he just got out of the gym too. When you look at Brant Brown, he's walking around, dude's yoked, man.
Oh, yeah.
When you're walking around and when he's sitting there telling you, okay, do this, do that, and you see him putting in the work, not to say Turner Ward didn't, but it's just, I feel like younger guys, they respond to younger guys a little bit better. And I feel like if they're on the same page and he's telling you what you're doing wrong, and if you're able to remedy that, I feel like that's one of the reasons why we're seeing so many great at-bats from, not just Cody Bellinger, but from the whole team in general.
Right. Turner Ward was a good hitting coach. He was fine. He's doing okay over there in Cincinnati, although, Joey Votto hasn't been.
The Reds not doing great, though.
Yeah, the Reds are. Yeah, exactly.
But Joey not great right now. Skyline chili. It's like ketchupy water with meat chips in it.
Oh, man.
Sorry, Skyline chili.
That sounds terrible.
It is terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Because
right, but this is the team that, they're... What was I saying? You got me all mixed up here with talking about chili and Turner.
Oh
yeah, all right, thank you. Yeah, you started talking about Skyline chili. Everything got all messed up. But like with Turner Ward, he was fine. But what Robert Van Scoyoc and Brant Brown have done is they've actually changed the way that these guys go at their at bats, and it's not just. It seemed like last year was so much about launch angle and was so much about just getting the ball into hitting home runs.
Maddening.
Yeah, runners in scoring position were terrible last year. Getting on base was really bad. So
what happened to
2 outs running us
station to station?
Yeah, love station to station.
And doing games and working at Spectrum and sitting there with Nomar and with Jerry. Not to take anything away from Jerry, but especially with Nomar. Lifetime 313 hitter. The guy played for 14 seasons, and you sit there and you absorb everything that he has to say about the game and about guys' approach at the plate. And last year, he was pulling his hair out. You're seeing these at bats with 2 outs and and 2 strikes and runners in scoring position. It's like you're not able to push cats across. Like you're not able to hit through a shift. Like you're getting paid a king's ransom to play a child's game. And it's not just. It's just the generation. That's what it is. Like a lot of guys just can't hit through the shift, and now we're seeing that a little bit more. The shift is on. Let's just be a hitter.
Yep.
Like let's take the pitch and let's hit it where it's pitched at. Let's not try to take a ball from the outer half and yank it the other way.
Right. Go opposite way.
Absolutely.
Go over the shift. Go do just get
lay
on base.
Lay
down. We see it a little bit more often than it's not.
Bunts are legal hits.
Yeah,
they're legal. They're not illegal. There's nothing wrong.
All right.
With
that though, Andrew Friedman is very analytical. And the analytics, not me, not you, the analytics say a bunt is a wasted out.
But what if it's not an out? What
if?
The infield's loaded on the right side? Like I saw Matt Wieters, the one that always jumps out to me. It was NLDS, Cubs and Nationals, I think 2 years ago. And the shift was on. The Cubs put the shift on Matt Wieters. Yeah. And Matt Wieters is like 6'5", bad knees, slow as Sunday.
Yeah, and
what did he do? Free base hit. Thank you very much. I'll be standing on first base waiting for someone to push me across.
You know it just as well as anybody. Getting a hit for a bunt is tough. Just putting
what I'm
the
saying.
Yeah.
Like it's an art.
Yes,
it's not easy to do. If it was easy to do and if everybody it was a wasted out, no disrespect to Andrew Friedman, because he knows the game. He played ball at Tulane, and to go down there and play for that program, you got to be pretty good.
Yep.
They don't. The Tulane University's not picking up a whole bunch of bums on scholarships. So Andrew knows what he's talking about. But I feel a bunt, it keeps guys off balance, and when you can keep opposing teams off balance when it comes to defense, because the one thing that a lot of people forget is that Major League teams don't practice. You don't practice all the
No.
defensive, motions that a college team would do. And I'm not sitting here saying that college players are better at defense, but they're better at defensive communications.
Right.
When infielders go out and outfielders come in, like you see a lot of miscommunications because the stadiums are louder. They don't practice that. Like they shag fly balls during BP, but they don't have structured practices. They have spring training, and then boom, the season starts, and you play 162, and you
There
have
are practices every game.
7.5 days off.
Right.
The whole
Yeah,
season.
yeah, for the entire year.
Right.
And even on your day off, you're still doing media and you're doing other things. Like it's not like you're just sitting
Absolutely.
back watching
Like,
Stranger
they don't
Things.
have like a
Yeah.
old-fashioned 2-hour practice where
Right.
everyone rolls up, and they just actually do just nothing
No,
but
you'd be
defense.
exhausted.
Exactly.
You'd be insane. I don't know about this one. Jonathan Watson, 0984, he says, Cole, what is it like doing the PA at Dodger Stadium? Did you do the PA?
I did it last year
you
on
did it?
Father's Day.
Oh,
and
you
it was
did it?
Giants Dodgers.
Oh,
It was-
dude, that's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Was it pretty-
It was really cool. Just to be able to be up there and to fill in for Todd Lights.
Yeah.
To be up there in the booth and my wife and my daughter were there, and I thought my daughter got one of the biggest kicks out of it because
Just hearing your voice over and
not,
over.
not just that, but she loves the Dodgers. You could put if you could do a picture flip and you could just the player and she'll tell you who they are,
Oh,
what
wow.
the number is, what position they play, and so to hear her do starting lineups like she tries to mimic me, but she does it like with the same inflection. Number 35, Cody Bellinger, and this,
Right.
that, and the other. And it's funny to see. So it was a lot of fun, man. Just to be
Oh,
able to.
dude, that sounds-
Dodger
that's like-
Stadium. It's Dodger Stadium. Come on.
That's a complete that's a dream come true.
Yeah, it was
that's
fun.
that's gigantic. Wow, good for you, man. That's unbelievable. Really excited about that. Steven 27 LA says also Dodgers' biggest competitor in the NL. At the beginning of the year, I was very high on the Cubs. I know you're a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
I was high on the Cubs. I thought that for years I thought they were going to be in the NLCS year after year after year because they were that good. I still think they can get back there. I don't think they're the biggest competitor anymore, though. I mean, I just honestly, I think it's Atlanta.
It's crazy. I mean, and it's all about the postseason. I mean, once
it's
the
a crapshoot.
postseason starts, I mean, you have to get in.
It's all about brackets and how
And essentially, I look at the postseason and getting that postseason berth. It's like it's a ticket to the game. If you're a really good hustler, you can get a nosebleed seat.
Yeah.
And hustle your way down to the front row, which I mean is if you barely sneak your way in, even if it's a 1-game playoff,
Yep.
if you're riding a hot wave of momentum, I still feel like the quote unquote the hustler type team can still get there and they can still win. I mean, we haven't seen that. A lot of times it's been the team that's been strongest from wire to wire that goes out there and wins the World Series. But I still really believe that if
Seen it a
you're
couple times.
scrappy, teams can make things happen. And we, like I said, we've seen it before. And a surprise, a team that no one thought going into the postseason ends up winning the World Series.
It's just getting hot at the right time and pushing
Absolutely.
on through, and that's that happens sometimes. Dodger Rebel over here on Instagram says, "Will the Dodgers trade away their top prospects to win this year?"
Hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too.
Hope not.
I mean, they have a top 10 minor league system. The guys at the top 4 are Will Smith, Dustin May, Gavin Lux, and Gavin Lux, Will Smith.
Can't get rid of Will Smith though.
And I'm missing one. I'm blanking on who that fourth one is. There's someone out there who's going to tell me exactly who it is, but I would assume not. Right? Those guys are not going to
If
go.
Will Smith continues to hit the way he's hit, and especially in big league plate appearances, I mean, you can't deal that guy, man, because
No.
catchers are worth their weight in gold, especially if they can swing it a little bit, which Will Smith clearly can. And the big league stage wasn't too big for him. And despite what he's done in previous years in the minors, the minors and the majors are different. And he's shown that he can swing it in the majors, which, I mean, that's all you want. And not just that, he's giving you defense.
Right.
He's received the ball extremely well. He's thrown runners out. And I feel like he's just a likable dude in the clubhouse.
Right, and I think what the big part about that is that for so long, for so many years, people said, trade Cody Bellinger for X player, trade Corey Seager for this guy, trade Walker Buehler for this guy because you want to win right now. Andrew
Good thing they
Friedman
made those
never.
moves, yeah.
Andrew Friedman never did. He held strong on all of those guys. He kept building the minor league system to the point where it's, even though they're the best team in baseball, they still have a top 10 minor league system.
Yeah.
That's just not normal.
Yeah.
The fact that you're able to hold everything and be able to keep these guys and know who the right guy to move out and who the right guy to keep in is a huge testament to Andrew Friedman. So that's why when people say, yes, you got to do it all this year. You've been to the World Series 2 years in a row. It's been over 30 years. I get it. I do. I want one. I haven't seen a World Series here since 1988. I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old when I saw the last time the Dodgers won.
You were like 23 when
Yes.
that happened in 88.
Yeah,
Before me, man.
You're saying 23. My daughter's saying like 55. So, you know.
Nice.
But we got, so, you know, these are the types of guys that I want to see them as Dodgers going forward. And I want to see them, because this team is not going anywhere. The way that they work offensively, they have a great defense. Their pitching staff is young. The whole team is young. Everybody is. I just don't think getting rid of somebody important is going to be what is needed to happen here.
No, like you said, I think Andrew, when it comes to Andrew Friedman, I think he's a way above average talent evaluator. He knows what guys are made of. I think that also stems from him being a guy who played the game. And not to say that you always have to play the game to know how to be able to manage the game or to be able to find your way around, you know, a major league roadmap. But I feel like it gives you, it puts a little extra in your back pocket when you know, when you've been there, when you know what it's like after a loss, when you know what it's like after a win, and when you can see characteristics of a player that, okay, this guy looks like he has what it takes, even though he's in maybe a little bit of a slump right now. When he's making these outs, these are some loud outs, man. They're going to find holes. I mean, just watching Alex Verdugo just the other day. Everything he was hitting the other night, he had a sack fly. I forget which night it was. You know, I'm starting get all the days mixed up.
It's a long season, man. I get it.
And after the game, he was like, "Man, why you want to talk to me? Like, why don't you talk to somebody who got a hit?" And it's like everything you hit, like if someone would have gotten away with it with no glove, it would have been a serious problem. Like everything he hit was so loud, and it's like all of them are going to find holes. I mean, he's hovering right around 300. I think once the break gets over with and they're back in Boston and he's back swinging things on a consistent basis. As long as we can see him in there on a consistent basis, I think he's going to be over 300 again.
Oh yeah, no, that's the type of guy that he's going to be, and that's why you don't move Alex Verdugo. I didn't even think about that. That's another guy you didn't move. But so all right, so AJ Pollock's coming back.
Yeah,
he's about to come back. He did not have a very good beginning of the year before he re-injured that elbow.
Under 230, two home runs.
2 home runs. He just wasn't. He had some big hits really early on, but that just completely fell off, and then it was out for a while. Now he's finally coming back. What that does, it makes a whole effect happen. So we talked about it a little bit with Corey Seager, but now he goes right back into that starting center field spot, which means that Alex Verdugo, because he can move, will go over to left field, and usually probably against lefties because he has that kind of reverse splitish kind of thing going on where he can hit lefties. And Jock, you just don't play him against lefties. It's just not even worth it. So Jock will be out and he'll only play against righties, but that means one guy's got to be out, or Jock's at first, who, I don't know. What do you think about Jock at first? It's weird. It just doesn't look right.
I don't have a problem with Jock at first.
No, I mean he's made some plays, made some
I don't
weird
feel like he's
plays.
been a liability at all at first base.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more to first base than people would think. Like people are like, I just throw him at first base.
Oh, no.
It's like, okay, really? Because the first baseman touches the ball, outside of the pitcher and the catcher more than anybody on the field. I mean, if you have a guy who's got a brick in his glove, that's the cat you do not want at first base. So clearly, Jock's shown some things where they said, okay, we feel comfortable putting him at first base, in a starting capacity. Or else, I mean, we've seen guys, they try to move one way or another, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
But so far, at least, it's worked out for the Dodgers.
Yeah. How much do you think, though, that it's, hey, we got this gigantic lead. We want to find spots for Jock because he hits the ball so well, and he's got over 20 home runs also. Yeah, so he's hitting the ball out of here. He was great in the home run derby, by the way. But
I mean, to see those two cats swing away, I thought the way Guerrero Jr., like the way he built up that lead, I'm like, Jock can swing it. He's not going to catch him. And then he caught him, and those guys are swinging back and forth. I mean, what a way to lose. That was the only problem.
Right, by having this gigantic lead, 13 and a half games in the West, and just the best team in base, first to 60, blah, 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 all that stuff. Do the Dodgers then are they able to make these kind of moves where they're like, let's just try Jock out at first base. We want to get more at-bats for him, especially against lefties. Maybe we'll just put him over there at first base just so we can give him some time there. It's an experiment that's worth giving to him.
I feel like if the more bats he can get against lefties, the better. I mean, you don't want to have him hamstrung or handcuffed when the postseason rolls around.
We've seen it so much already, though, and
the only way to get better at something, you have to make your weaknesses your strengths.
Sure,
I mean you can't shy away from that. I mean, you're a major league hitter, and I feel like if someone went to him and said, "Hey, man, here's the fact of the matter. Like, we want you to go in there and do your best against left-handed pitchers." And I feel as if he's a professional.
Yeah,
he's up to. I feel like if everyone says, "Okay, you always are going to have off when a lefty's up there," then that's just the approach you're going to take. But if someone says you're going to be in there, you have to deal with it. It's either a stampede or get trampled, and I feel like Jock is a dude who could answer that call, and I feel like you're in your head at a certain point,
right?
Like, let's say, the lefty matchup. Well, I know righties see a righty matchup a whole lot more, but it's going to happen. It's not like it's a guy that's got an arm coming right out of the middle of his chest.
Right? Yeah.
It's.
But I mean, like, this team though is very much because of the positionality and all that stuff that we've talked about 1,000 times. That you have guys that are going to be able to hit lefties. That instead of a guy that can't, and Andrew Friedman has shown over and over again that he wants to put these guys in the best position to succeed. If that means not starting Cody Bellinger and Max Muncy in the World Series in the first 2 games, which was ridiculous, he's going to do those types of things because he thinks that's the best position for the Dodgers to succeed. So if he thinks that Jock Peterson can't hit lefties, and it's been shown year after year after year, there's another guy that can come up and hit lefties. David Freese is there. He can hit lefties. So can Max Muncy to go into those. Yeah, so can Alex Verdugo. There's enough guys on the roster that you don't even have to give him in that position. So, as much as okay, just give him more at bats against lefties, it's an out. And you want guys that get on base for if you look at his stats over his career, his splits, which I'm not a crazy numbers guy. I do like numbers, but the fact of the matter
part of the story.
Sometimes they can. And over his entire career, he's over 100 points less in batting average, over 100 points less in on base percentage. All of his numbers drop consistently.
Okay, but what about this? What about guys who are switch hitters?
Okay, well that's
when you look at their splits, this guy's hitting, he's hitting 306 from the right side, but he's hitting 231 from the left. Maybe he has 2 more home runs from the left side, so he has more pop. But it's like, okay, at what point do you decide why am I going to give up this many extra points and getting on base just because I can maybe run into 1 or 2 from the other side of the plate?
I think that's what it is.
Why would you do that?
Right, and I go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like for a guy like Jock, I feel like if thrown into the fire, I feel like he can make that transition. And having worked with a whole bunch of different guys, some Hall of Famers, some right on the fringe, in my time in the media, the one that always jumps out to me is Jim Rice. Jim Rice said that he would go up there and he would look for one pitch. And I know, as simple as that sounds, he loved to hit curveballs. So say if you're Jock and you're in there against a lefty,
looking for the
I'd say only swing with something with a bend in it.
No, yeah,
because you're not going to get tricked as much because you're sitting there thinking too much, because then that's when fastballs get slipped by you. If you look for anything that's straight, lay off it. If something has a bend in it, I'm sitting here trying to give hitting advice to Jock Peterson. He's going to sit there he's probably taking notes, says, this is what I don't want to do.
Right.
However, if you have to go up there, if you're going to be a guy who struggles against a guy from the certain side on the mound, then you have to go up there with that certain approach. And I just feel like he can break out, but like you said, there's other guys from the left-hand side of the plate who can hit lefties, and you don't need him to be there.
Right.
But if he's not there in an everyday capacity, sometimes we see guys fall off a cliff a little bit.
Yeah, and because you're not putting them in that everyday role, you're not putting them against lefties, then they start falling off against righties.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So all right. So I get the other side of it. I'm not the Shane K. Lee, what's up, man? Hey, Greg and Cole, been a while. You guys think Mad Bum or Will Smith come here? Look, I'm so down on Madison Bumgarner becoming a part of this team. I just don't see it. This team seems like it has a great clubhouse that everybody seems to get along. You're down there. You see it. They seem like everybody just kind of likes each other. They get along. They know they are very workmanlike.
If Mad Bum came in here?
I'm sure he would be fine, but Max Muncy and him don't like each other. I mean, that's pretty damn clear after that. You want to go get it out of the ocean.
Yeah.
People are making shirts out of it. Bleed Los made a shirt out of it, by the way. Bleed Los. Bleed Los. Bleed Los.
But it's almost as if you hate a guy when he's playing against you.
All right, but when he's on your team,
you love him when he's on your squad.
I mean,
man.
He seems
almost like Dennis Rodman. Nobody
wanted
to play against Dennis Rodman. Not when he was a Laker.
Yeah,
okay, as a Chicago, and I remember Dennis Rodman back in the day when he was a thorn in everybody's side.
Right.
But it's like, you never want to play against him, but he's that dude who he'll run through a brick wall, and you know what you're going to get with Madison Bumgarner. And when he has a solid staff around him and a solid offense around him, he's a problem, man. And plus, he's going to get up there in the 9-hole or the 8-hole, whichever way the manager decides to make out that lineup, and he's going to rake.
Yep.
He said, my wet newspaper is a 34-inch, 31-ounce Louisville Slugger.
Right.
He said most pitchers only swing wet newspapers, and he gets after it.
He does. He's got a lot of power, and it would work out if you want me. We've done this before, but Madison Bumgarner in the postseason has been one of the best postseason pitchers I've ever seen. Like, personally, I'm not that old, so I haven't seen a lot of him, but he is probably the best postseason
you're not that young
starting.
Either.
No, I'm not. But 35,
wedding crashers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
just a bunch of young kids. Like, well, we're not really that young.
But yeah, I mean, whatever amount of time that I've been watching, he's probably been the best postseason pitcher I've ever seen, just because of what he does. Where he can
starting pitcher,
starting pitcher, where he can go 1-4-7 in any series.
Verlander?
No
Verlander.
Well, Verlander against the Dodgers did not factor into the Dodger series 2 years ago at all. He should have lost Game 2 because Rich Hill outpitched him in that game, and the only reason that they lost was because Marwin Gonzalez hit a home run in the top of the ninth inning off of Kenley Jansen to tie the game.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was Game 6. He lost to Rich Hill in that game. So he actually should have been 0-2. Instead, he was 0-1. He did not factor into that World Series whatsoever. That's my whole thing on Verlander. He's a great pitcher. I just think that Madison Bumgarner, he won when he was on there. I'm sure there's games he lost, but he would pitch 1-4-7. He would come out of the pen if you needed to.
Dubs.
Yep.
Yeah.
He just would completely roll through. But he's also kind of like that Kershaw now, where he's a guy that's going to be hitting, that's right around that 90, 91 mile per hour. It's just about control.
More than throw.
Exactly, and that's just, he's going to give up a couple of home runs. He's going to give up 3 runs in a game.
Because that mystique with the young players is not there as much. If you have a 22-year-old, I mean, do you think that Fernando Tatis Jr. sitting there looking at Clayton Kershaw like, oh man, this guy's won 3 Cy Young Awards and blah blah blah. Like, I don't want to step in again. Like, no, he's like, man,
I don't know this guy.
It's like, man, I'm 20 years old. Like, let's get after it. Like,
right.
These young guys are not afraid of these guys that have these storied resumes. So I think that's what we're seeing. It's just the youth movement.
Yep. Austin Pacheco, 27, with David coming out. That's David Freese coming. Do you still see Jock playing some first base or just a straight platoon with Doogie?
I think it's going to be like a 3-man weave. I think it's going to be. Yeah, I think it's going to be, like I said, whoever is hot, and there's no shame in that. If a guy is swinging a hot stick, keep him in. Let that bat stay hot. I mean, like Chris Taylor. I mean, he closed out the first half as probably the hottest Dodger at the plate. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, right. Dude was swinging a hell of a bat as of late. So
he was. Chris Taylor, and people were just killing him early on.
Early in the year.
He was bad early on, but he was always a guy that was going to be able to hit. And if you look at him over his last 30, which I like looking at last 30 more so than last 7.
One of the best in the league.
Yeah, since in his last 30 games, he's batting .357. He's got, 3 home runs, 18 RBIs, 30 hits, 9 doubles, a triple. Dude's just 11 walks.
They have last 15. Can you split that?
I can't go. I can go to last 7. I can go to last 7.
Over 400.
Yeah. So his last 7, Chris Taylor is batting .286.
Oh, never mind.
But I mean that factors in. I think this is last 7 days.
Oh, so is that what it is? Okay.
It might be. It might be. Or it might be last 7. It's last 7 games because then there was the 4-game series against San Diego and nobody hit well.
I feel like if you add the 7 prior to that, I feel like it goes right back up because the numbers like over the last 15 games. I think when I spoke with him on the 4th of July. I mean, he was hitting over 450. He was hitting like 452. I mean, 12 extra base hits. I think he had 5 home runs over that stretch, man. I mean, the guy's been flat out raking. So
yeah, he absolutely has. All right, we got about a minute and a half left, so I'm just going to try and get one more from each little area here, and then we're going to let Cole get on home to his family. Mike Keefe, 1419, says, who are the Dodgers thinking of getting? I mean, we've kind of gone through that a bunch. It's going to be bullpen, right?
I mean, I would think, like I said, but I don't really feel that you need to get too many more pieces of the puzzle. I feel like this team right here, if everyone plays to their top capabilities, I feel like this squad is a dangerous team, man. Not just that's just with their pitching, but the lineup. I mean, anyone can take you yard at any given time.
Yep. Absolutely, and we've seen Pedro Baez give him up. We've seen Yimi Garcia. We see anybody give him up. We got one here. Let's see. Taylor Spencer, 44-14. Should Joe Kelly be the 8th inning guy now?
I don't see why not. I mean, and it gives you a little bit of variation because he and Kenley have different stuff. I mean, if he comes in and he's blowing doors, man, it's like I feel like that's a and not to say that the same people are going to see both of those guys, but I just feel like that it varies your looks, and I feel like he's a guy. I mean, even if something were to go wrong, and Kenley's not able to get the outs, I know he's a closer by definition, but I mean, Joe Kelly's a guy who can be thrust in a role if he's pitching well. Yep. I mean, that's electric stuff, and there's no denying that.
Yep. All right, last one I think I got here is, let's see, talk about the Lakers. Nope, this is not a Lakers show, and there's only a minute left. So, Dodger Rebel, Cole, when are you coming in the Sportsnet LA show again? What you were telling me?
Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Yep.
We were seeing like because of the SB traffic. I'm like,
right.
Let's do next Wednesday, and I'll be in studio next Wednesday.
Yep. So you go check out Cole Wright next Wednesday on Spectrum Sportsnet LA.
That's correct.
Yeah, Spectrum Sportsnet LA, or you can just watch him on NFL Network.
NFL Network. I'll be there on Friday.
And be there on Friday.
Friday hosting Total Access.
There you go. So if you want to talk some
Jones, Daniel Tomlinson.
Oh,
I think so.
Tough life you leave there.
That's the lineup,
talking to just the major dudes from NFL history. All right, awesome. But thank you guys very much for being a part of the Blue Review. We are going to get out of here. I am Greg Bergman at Bergman Greg on Instagram and on Twitter. Chase Aguirre, thank you very much, my man, for being the hype man for me. I really, really appreciate it. Go check out Chase Aguirre. It's ChaseAguiar. He's helping me hype man. I appreciate him doing this every single week for me. Cole Wright NFL, thank you very much, man.
Anytime,
I appreciate you being
Anytime.
here. I'm glad we finally were able to do it. And that's it for us out here. Thank you very much for being on the Blue Review, and we'll be back. I will be back next Wednesday. I'm out of here. See you guys.